When it comes to consent in healthcare, we all kind of think we know the deal, right? You get the information, you weigh the pros and cons, and you sign the form. Seems pretty straightforward. But what if that's only scratching the surface? What if real, true agreement goes way deeper than just what our conscious mind is thinking?
I mean, think about it for a second. You've probably been there. Someone hands you a clipboard and a pen. Maybe you're feeling a little rushed, a little overwhelmed. You sign on the dotted line. But have you ever walked away with that weird, nagging feeling that sense that some part of you deep down wasn't really on board? Well, that disconnect is exactly what we're going to dive into.
All right, so to really get our heads around this bigger concept, let's start with the system we all know. That official process of giving consent has a name, but as we're about to see, it also has some pretty significant and honestly kind of surprising limitations.
This is the official term, traditional informed consent. It's basically a cognitive process. You're given the facts, you understand them with your brain, and you give permission. And on paper, hey, it makes total sense. It's a legal and ethical cornerstone of modern medicine. But I want you to notice that one key word there, cognitive. It's all happening up here, in your head.
Okay, and this is where things start to get really interesting. Let's put that traditional model side by side with this new idea. Instead of just being cognitive, what if consent was embodied, felt in your whole body? Instead of being legalistic, what if it was holistic? This is a huge shift from just simple intellectual agreement to a deep internal alignment. And that comparison right there sets the stage for a much more profound way of thinking about this whole thing.
So this brings us to the work of Dr. Adam O'Brien and his really groundbreaking concept of unconscious informed consent. His whole argument is that for an agreement to be truly authentic, it has to involve way more than just our conscious, rational brain. And this one quote, man, it gets right to the absolute heart of his work. The idea is that our lived experiences, our memories, even our traumas, they aren't just thoughts floating around in our head, they are physically stored in our bodies. So in this view, our body has its own kind of intelligence, its own wisdom.
So what is unconscious informed consent really? Well, it's an agreement that you feel on a much deeper level. It's based on your lived bodily experience. It's about a true alignment between your mind and what O'Brien calls your unconscious body. You're honoring this unconscious consciousness. It's the difference between your mouth saying yes and your entire being feeling yes.
Okay, so if this idea is so powerful, why isn't it the standard? Well, Dr. O'Brien argues that our healthcare system itself often clashes with this deeper form of consent. He sees it as this big conflict between genuine ethics and just rigid protocol, a system he actually calls industrialized psychiatry.
And this breakdown just lays it all out so clearly. On one side, you have legal ethics. That's all about following the rules, checking the boxes, making sure the system is compliant. And get this, O'Brien suggests this operates at the cognitive level of a 7 to 12-year-old. Then on the other side, you have moral ethics, which is all about honoring an individual's own inner wisdom and aiming for real, genuine healing. And this quote just drives that point home, doesn't it? It really questions that purely transactional approach to care. When a solution is prescribed without that deep human connection, is that truly care? Is the goal to serve the person or just the efficiency of the system?
So these are the hallmarks of that kind of system. It becomes purely transactional, almost like a business deal. It could be devoid of real human connection. And in doing that, it completely bypasses these deeper levels of consent we're talking about. The argument is that this approach can actually create dependency. And in the end, it infringes on our fundamental right to guide our own healing.
So, where does all this leave us? Well, this whole concept is a challenge. It's pushing us to aim for a much, much higher standard of care. It forces us to completely rethink what real patient autonomy looks like and what's truly needed for us to heal. And really, this is the core takeaway. The challenge for everyone, patients and practitioners alike, is to start recognizing and honoring the whole person, their mind, their emotions, their body, their history, not just the part of their brain that can understand a list of side effects and hold a pen.
Which leads to a really powerful question for all of us to chew on. What would change in our own lives, in our healthcare system? What would change if we decided this was the new standard? If we believed that true, authentic agreement required a complete alignment of our thinking mind and our feeling, knowing body.
And that leads us to one final, really provocative thought. When we override that gut feeling, when our brain signs the form, even though our body is screaming no, are we actually unintentionally creating trauma? It's a profound question, and it challenges the very foundation of how we think about our own well-being.